Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this video, I just want to address the biggest issues the Muslims are facing in the US. They are obviously more than that. I just wanted to focus on the three biggest issues the Muslims are facing. Islamophobia and discrimination is is huge. There are a lot of Muslim women out there who graduate colleges, and because they wear the hijab and cover their head, it's very hard for them to get a job in the corporate world because they're wearing the hijab and they stand out, they look different, and they get interviews. And when they get the interviews, because of how they look and their hijab, it's nobody hires them, or it's very hard for companies to hire them because of their attire, right? Also, a lot of Muslims they face surveillance and profiling. This was huge 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago in New York and some other parts of the US, where they had undercover FBIs go to the masajids or even hire community members, right? A lot of people, a lot of Muslims in New York are from Bangladesh and India and Pakistan and those kind of people. So they were hired, the FBI would hire these people and go so they can go to the masjids and spy on the Muslims. There was a term that was used. I can't exactly remember the term, but it was something along the line of instigate and record. So these undercover FBIs who are Muslims, so they would go to the masjids and start conversation with the Muslims about politics and terrorism and attacking the US and stuff like that. And they have the recording devices on them. They would start these conversation with the worshippers in the masjid who have no idea what's going on, who are not in politics, who don't care about what's happening anywhere in the US. They would go, the undercover Muslim FBIs would go to these Muslims and start a conversation. Oh, this is happening in Pakistan or Iraq or Somalia or Yemen, and what are your thoughts about that? Do you support that? Do you support those people? And he's recording while he's doing this, right? So he would engage in the conversation and record them. Then after that, he would, relay all the information to the FBI's. Then the FBI would come and arrest these people and charge them with supporting and aiding terrorism and stuff like that. And number one is a lot of Muslims, they are scared, right? Even though we try to practice our religion in America freely, right? There's a freedom of religion, which is, great blessings, one of the constitutional rights. However, there are sick people out there who hate Islam, who hate the Muslims, who are looking to attack the Muslims, harm the Muslims, cause damages and cause problems to the Muslims. And that's why some Muslims they are very, very scared. Some sisters they're very scared to wear the hijabs. Some brothers they're very scared to wear the thobe, kofia, the Islamic attire. They're very scared because they cannot go in public with these Islamic attire. A while back in Colorado, in Fort Collins, Colorado, a small town in northern Colorado, there were a lot of Saudi students, right? Saudi students who used to go to the college there. They were very scared to go out during the day. Most of them were married, they had wives and children and families. So during the day, they were very scared to go out to the stores. Okay, they would keep their wives in the home during the day. The only time they would come out was late at night. So they would go out at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. when there were less people in the stores. They would go out with their wives to the stores because they were very scared at that time for people to harm them, attack them, profile them, cause some kind of harm or problems, call them names. They were very scared. And it shouldn't be like that, right? And everybody should be safe and everybody should be free from discrimination and from harm and from disturbances and from these things. And this is one of the issues, a lot of Muslims, okay, in some of the communities, they live in fear. A while back, there was a story that happened in Texas, in one of the small towns in Texas, where one of the neighbors attacked a Muslim family. There were there were a Muslim family living in the neighborhood. This neighbor came to the Muslim family. He knocked on the door and he just boom, 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 shot them all dead. Why? Simply because they're Muslims. And a lot of people, a lot of Muslims live in fear, right? What's going to happen to me today? Is somebody going to attack me? Something's going to go wrong. And constant anxiety, constant fear, constant this state of mental instability because they constantly worry about something might happen to them. And this is what I mentioned earlier regarding the FBI in New York, where they were doing a lot of surveillance in the masjids and in the Muslim community and hiring Muslims as undercovers to record them and stuff like that. Because of the numbers of the Muslims in the US, the numbers are very small, right? In some cities, maybe like cities in Michigan, maybe Dearborn or New York City, and some US cities where they have major, huge number of Muslims, okay, they have the school districts have recognized the Muslims' holidays, the Fridays and the two Eids and stuff like that. So they give them days off in these holidays. But it's still, a majority of the school districts in the US have not recognized the Muslim community, the Muslim students. They don't have Fridays off. They cannot go to Friday prayers. They don't get parts of Ramadan off. They don't get Eids off and stuff like that. And this is an issue that Muslim community need to address. The Muslim community need to address this issue and they need to speak up, because if they don't speak up, nobody's going to do anything about it. That's why they need to unite, become one hand, become one body, and make a noise and demand their rights, right? Like, why do I have Sunday off and I have to work Fridays? Who came up with the law? That law doesn't apply to me. That was back in the days, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when most of the people in the US were Christians, and on Sundays they need it off so they can go to church and do their worships, right? But I don't go to church. I don't worship on Sundays, right? I go to the mosque on Friday prayer for the sermon. So I need Friday off, for example. So these are some of the issues the Muslims are facing right now. There is some riots and protests going on in Arizona, ASU, where the Muslims versus the non-Muslims, and the non-Muslims are calling the Muslims, all of you are terrorists and stuff like that, because of what the media is portraying, and when people watch it on media and Fox and stuff like that, they getting brainwashed, and they come out in the communities and they do harm to the Muslim communities. And these are some of the things that we need to address. These are some of the issues that we need to address and fix, so that way everybody lives in peace, right? There might be some politics going on overseas, Muslim groups and Muslim terrorist groups and doing whatever overseas in the Middle East. But the Muslims in the US, they love their country. They love living here. They enjoy living here. They pay taxes. They follow the law. They are law abiding Muslim citizens in the US and they're not causing any harm. So labeling them as terrorists is not the right thing to do. And that's why the government needs to do something about this. Where the Islamophobic individuals constantly attack the Muslims. These people need to be off the streets. I understand they have the freedom of speech, but this is going to cause harm because of their mentality and the way they're thinking. Next, they will take action to harm the Muslims and this needs to be stopped. Before any of these things happen, these individuals with a sick mindset, they need to be stopped before they harm any of the community members.